Greetings, TheWarOwl greets you, and welcome to One More Round. It's pretty much a podcast on Counter-Strike. This time, I'm going to be discussing the idea of balance in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. To answer the question, is Counter-Strike a balanced game? The footage you see is from a professional Counter-Strike player. I'll let you know who sometime during this video. It's time to play Who's That Pokemon? So first, we need to ask the question, what is balance in a multiplayer game? Does Counter-Strike even have balance? Is the term applicable? To me, balance is a word that's thrown around haphazardly. It could refer to whether one team or player has an unfair advantage, or refer to the relative effectiveness of specific game mechanics. In MOBAs like Dota 2 or League of Legends, balance is a huge issue. You have a large amount of different classes that you play as, and in order for the game to work well, they need to be strong relative to each other, so that who wins is determined by who is the better player, who's the better team, and not who has the better character. This is quite a tall order, and makes balance very difficult in a MOBA and very important. In a game like StarCraft, the concept of balance once again is central to the playability of the game, so that better players win, not players who have chosen pre-game options that are better than the others. In StarCraft, balance revolves around the three different races you can choose: the Terran, Zerg, and Protoss. If one race is more powerful than another, the game becomes unbalanced, killing the entire concept of it as a competitive game. There are many factors that affect the balance of the game, such as the map design, the unit design, and at the end of the day, all balance in StarCraft is about the different races. It's like the different classes that you play in MOBA. It's a pre-game choice. You make it before the gameplay even starts. So what about Counter-Strike? Where is the balance in this game? In classic Counter-Strike, there is no pre-game choice that will give anybody an advantage. You play half of the rounds on the terrorist side and half the rounds on the CT side. You play the first half, then you switch. So one side being more powerful than the other is irrelevant to giving an advantage to one team or the other. Knowing this, folks still seem to throw around the concept of balance quite a bit. They say, oh, this is unbalanced, blah, 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 talking about the map balance, the team balance, the weapon balance, but really, none of it will give an unfair advantage to one team or the other, or one player or the other, like it would in a MOBA in terms of hero choice, or StarCraft in terms of race choice. Whether you believe those other games are balanced or not is irrelevant to the point. The only pre-game choice in Counter-Strike is the weapon loadout, that is, substituting the ability to purchase certain weapons for another. And here is where Valve really does have to balance the game. Valve is unique in their approach to balancing the game because of the tools they use. They work on the theory that the player knows what the hell they're doing. So they data mine and perform statistical analysis in order to determine if the weapons are balanced or not based on who's using specific weapons. So it would seem the main statistic they're using, and the main one they're looking at, is how often the weapons are purchased. Let's look at what just happened recently in the last patch. The Tech 9 was buffed by making the spray pattern more predictable and easy to control, while leaving the Tappa Tappa relatively untouched. Clearly, after moving the CZ to the Tech 9 slot, more players have chosen to use the CZ instead. In Valve's eyes, this creates an imbalance and hurts the game. Now, in reality, all players have the same choices, so nobody really has an unfair advantage. This goes for the sidedness of the maps, the weapon balance, and the loadout balance. So who cares about balance? What's the big deal? Why does Valve keep changing the weapons around, changing the maps around, mussing up all the works? Where's our movement patch, Valve? Blah! All in the name of balance. By the way, whoever counts the number of times I say balance in this video gets a cookie. I haven't counted them, so I can't confirm. You'll get an e-cookie, I don't care. You probably have one on your computer right now anyway from YouTube. Okay, so let's think about it this way. Let's craft, in our minds, the perfectly balanced Counter-Strike game. The only weapon available to all players is the AK-47. That's it. That's the only thing you can buy. You always spawn with one, right? Okay. The map sides are a mirror of each other, and it pretty much goes 15-15 tie in every single game if the players are the same skill. Doesn't sound like very much fun, does it? The idea of balance in a game like Counter-Strike is really more about crafting a more enjoyable experience. If one weapon is more powerful than all the others, it's the only weapon anybody ever uses. Bland, uninteresting gameplay ensues. We've seen this happen to games like Call of Duty in the past. The new approach to Counter-Strike weapon balance seems to be increasing variety, increase the amount of choices the player has. Different weapons have different advantages. They have strategic advantages, economic advantages, positional advantages. There's more strategy involved. The map design is to allow for all kinds of different strategies, and in the end, it all makes the game more enjoyable, and it's all about fun. Balance makes the game more enjoyable to play. So you have to fret that there's a Mag 7 around the next corner, or an AWP a mile down the road. So you have to decide whether to go full AK-47 or to save some money with the Galil and maybe get some smokes and flashes or a P90 instead. Yes, that's right, I said the P90 as an example of a viable choice. Goodness, what's happening to me? A more balanced game reduces the possibility of cheesy strategies. It creates a more fun experience while still retaining the concept of the better player wins. It's like cooking an amazing dish. All the different flavors need to balance each other's out. You could go for the perfectly balanced safe route and just have like one flavor, like bread, or just like drowning your pasta in Parmesan cheese or something. Or you could create a more satisfying, interesting experience. It's the same with gaming. However, with the increased complexity of the game, with the more interesting mechanics that are added, the more difficult it is to balance it out. With more flavors, it's difficult to make the meal taste better. This is the job of the game developer. This is why people are still constantly working on CSGO. Not just fixing bugs, not just doing stuff like that, but changing around the mechanics, making minute changes to the maps that may seem pointless at first glance. Well, okay, some of them are, especially the Inferno ones, or potted plants at... Anyway, you get the point. Nowadays, games, especially esports, are a living, breathing piece of software. This is essential for them to be played in the long run, to develop a following, to get better. I mean, unless you just release the same game every year. Cough, Call of Duty. Cough. Oh dear, I seem to have come down with some sort of terrible coughing illness. Okay, so who's that pro? It's Simple. What a player. This guy hops onto the scene. He's amazing. Hope you enjoyed his gameplay. I'm TheWarOwl, and I still have no closer.